Welcome everyone to the LSTA workshop, Nevada State Library and Archives, and we will get going. I expect that today's workshop, we should be done before 3 o'clock. I did have on our time frame until 3:15. If we get some active discussions going, love to address those as we go. But I think for the most part, even with some questions, we should be done before 3 o'clock. So today we are going to start in with the LSTA grants and give you some information to make you an informed grant writer so you can have a competitive grant application turned in November. Okay, so today's agenda. I'm going to do a little overview of LSTA and LSTA as it operates in Nevada. We'll be talking about the application in general and then going through several sections of the application and giving information about what's needed and also hopefully a few little hints and insights that have come from reviewers and things that have gone on in past grant years. And as I mentioned, I do have a Q&A landing slide throughout, definitely Q&A at the end. And if you do have any questions throughout the session, don't hesitate to ask. But if they occur to you after the webinar is completed, please feel free to contact me. I will have that contact information at the end of our PowerPoint presentation. Okay, we'll get underway. You are here for the Library Services and Technology Act. We call it LSTA. It is part of a larger federal program that is activated under the Museum and Library Services Act. It was authorized in 2011. The legislation has to be reauthorized every 5 years. In congressional years, that means can be a little further on, often it's 6 or 7 years in between each reauthorization. So the last one was in 2011, and that's what we're operating with at this point. There are several funding streams within the Museum and Library Services Act and even within the subset that we're in, the Library Services and Technology Act. The program you're writing for at this point is called Grants to the State. And that does provide funding to every state in the Union and the territories within the Protectorate of the U.S. So from the feds, IMLS, the Institute of Museums and Library Services, is our federal agency that we work with. Our program office is called State Programs, related to the Grants to the State segment of the federal law. And the funding goes direct to the state libraries in every state and territory. So that identifies the Nevada State Library and Archives as the recipient agency for the funds. Also involved in our process, and this was established many years ago, the State Council on Libraries and Literacy, which is constituted in the revised statute, has part of its duties to review the Library Services and Technology Act program as a whole, and also they act as the reviewers for the competitive grant application. I'll also note in there that since we're a small state, small library, and compared to many other states, we have individuals who are on the council who might represent some of the institutions that are putting forth applications or that might be partners in applications or consulted on them. So we do have a conflict of interest statement for our council members to make sure that we keep everything fair for all applicants. Okay. The operative part of the program for the grants to the states is called a 5-year plan. Every state and every territory must submit a 5-year plan to IMLS, and the 5-year plan is really our roadmap for how we will spend the funds during that 5-year period. It is also our authorization. Once our plan has been adopted by the state and then approved on the federal level, We are then eligible to receive whatever funds are allocated each year by Congress and set apart for the grants to the state program. So for our 5-year plan in Nevada, we have 4 main goals. There are several actions, objectives, evaluation components beyond this, but our 4 goals revolve around the first, strengthening Nevada libraries with a focus on assessment, planning, and training. The second is to encourage Nevada libraries for the development of partnerships and collaborations, whether amongst libraries or other agencies that could maximize user resources and services throughout the state. In addition, we have 2 others. The Nevada libraries will provide responsive learning environments, and that the program will support the ability to build capacity of libraries to meet user-identified needs. The full plan is available on the NSLA website with underneath the LSTA segment of the website. That is should be in the instructions and the application information, which, by the way, is just now posted as of the end of the day yesterday. The applications and the instructions are now posted on the website and available. One of the things that you did take a look at when you were doing your proposal, you did have to sign and review a form relating to LSTA eligibility. These are the basics that are required for being able to compete for LSTA funds. And this is just to make sure that the libraries or places that are applying for funds actually do have a library in existence. We're looking for an existing library. LSTA is not, in Nevada anyway, is not designed to start up libraries. So a library does have to exist. It has to have an actual paid staff. That can't be a closet or something that's opened occasionally by a secretary or somebody. So it does actually have to have paid staff and a budget for materials. The last item is something that does come in play in our discussion later on, is to have a current long-range or strategic plan for the library, or it can be part of a larger organization where the library is specifically identified. Okay, so where are we in the timeline? We've accomplished the proposal phase. Everyone should have received comments back from the staff review from the proposals that were submitted in mid-September. We are now in the required webinar and writing up your application phase. Applications will be due November 12th. That is a Wednesday, due to the State Library and Archives, and we'll have plenty of information about that specifically. It is also in the instructions. The next important date for you will be January 14th and 15th. The State Council on Libraries and Literacy, the meeting is scheduled for those 2 days. I believe the meeting will be in Reno. We're still setting the location on that, but it will be in northern Nevada. The next 2 are the ones that we don't have specific dates for and will depend on Congress when they actually get a budget done. LSTA is not forward funded, so we do wait every year to have funding available as it's identified in the final federal budget. Let's see, yeah, October 1st. They should have had a budget done. They never do by October 1st. Usually we see a budget hopefully by the end of December, maybe January. Those are good years when they actually do the budget at this point. There was a time when I could give you a pretty good judge of when they might get the budget done in any particular year, whether it was an election year, midterm election, presidential election, whatever. It's been all over the map in the last several years, so we have to wait and see. But I will keep you apprised of any things that are coming out from the federal level, either from IMLS or from ALA, that will give us hints as to when they might finalize the budget. So if we go by last year, I think we the budget was signed in January. We got state notifications in February, late February. We were able to start getting information out in March, somewhere around there, and get some actual award notifications in April. But it is year to year. It can vary quite a bit. So there is not a firm date as to when we have an allocation from the federal level. So with that in mind, we still try to keep our on track with this, so we have the applications and we have the reviews somewhat close to when we actually are hope to have an allocation from the federal level. All applications will be due Wednesday, November 12th. The electronic by 5 p.m. You still also have to do a printed, one printed copy with original signatures. Those of you that have participated in the program before will notice that the date is a little earlier this year, and there is a factor that has come up, and that's an internal review. After the grant cycle and review by council last year, there was quite a bit of variability in the applications that came in, and we had applications that had some issues of some completeness or items that may or may not have been allowable expenses for the grant, and we didn't want to disqualify applications on the basis of something that was a missing piece of information, maybe some information that was confused, meaning we had two different sets of information for something, or maybe an ineligible item. So, but it caused a lot of confusion and discussion over the review with the state council members. So, in order to try to get applications that are going to be judged on the content, on what is eligible, and with the full amount of information, we are doing this year a short internal review for our applications, and that's the reason for the earlier deadline for November 12th. So we will have that staff review. It will be for completeness, budget information, to make sure all the information is there with sufficient detail for it to be reviewed, and for compliance, whether there's federal eligibility for certain dollar amounts or certain types of activities. That will take place in that. If there's information that is still required, there will be the applications will be due back with any corrections, updates, edits on that for those areas. It's not a review for the topics or for the program, the information that's in there. It is to make sure the applications are complete and do comply with the federal requirements for LSTA. If your application comes in, which this is the gold standard, you have all the information, everything is completely filled out, no questions, plenty of backup, that it's clear to go forward. You won't have to do any follow-up with us. Otherwise, we will have a grant project manager or whoever is designated to provide the additional information and updates for the final application. Okay, so I thought that might cause a few questions since that's brand new, but you may want to consider that, and if you have any other questions either later on or after the webinar is over, don't hesitate to ask me more about that. Okay, so we're going to jump into the parts of the application. Most of this is pretty straightforward. If you've done a few grants before, we need on our front page, very similar to the front page of the proposal form, we need basic information about you, who we're contacting, the organization, and some just the basics about the application itself. So applicant information, email addresses, so we know who to contact. You may include more than one contact person, but do identify who the primary contact should be. When I'm sending out emails, I have no problem adding another individual's name onto the email notifications that go out, especially when we're getting ready for the council meeting, making sure all the right people are in the loop. So I don't have any problem with adding names to an email list. However, if I need to contact somebody for some specific information on the application, please list who is the first contact or primary if there is more than one person. Definitely include the LSTA amount. I know it was a kind of a quirky thing. Maybe we're all kind of trying to get a zillion things done at once, but I had an unusual number of proposal forms sent in without the LSTA amount on the front page. There was definitely an LSTA amount there in the budget, but several just didn't have it on the front page. So please consider when you're doing your final application to fill in all the appropriate sections on the front page. And the last one I'll mention, and I do have it in bold, red, and underlined, is persons served. This one is highlighted because we work from a definition that is provided by the federal level by IMLS. They have a specific definition for the number of persons served, and this is something that is reported on the back end with your final report. So we ask you to estimate that at the front end with the application. Now, the persons served are how many people you expect to actually be impacted or participate in the program that you are proposing. It's not how many could be, or that, gee, if everyone, if we're doing a digital program, everyone statewide could really use it if they wanted. It's more a measure of how many will actually participate, utilize, or access what is being done with the grant project. On this end, with the application, you're doing your best guess. Once you work through your application, you get an idea of your target population, your own community. When you've started developing that whole thing, you might get an idea of how many will participate in your program or access what you have developed. Sometimes it can be based on past practice or experience with some other programs in similar nature. But at this end, it is an estimate. Okay. Basically, what you see throughout the whole application, pretty standard things that you might find in a grant form from many other agencies. There's an abstract, and then we're looking for your need opportunity. Tell us a little bit about your target audience, what you know about them, what you're able to glean, the benefits to your target audience. We need you to connect to your LSTA, to the LSTA 5-year plan, and also your planning document. Then you'll move on to implementation. That's telling us what you're going to do. Evaluation, very important aspect of the LSTA program, and budget narrative. And the last item in the application is a timeline. And we do inset some of the already known timeframes, such as when you will have to do a 6-month review, when the project will have to wrap up, and when you will need to submit your final evaluation. Okay. So getting ready, we talked about the LSTA 5-year plan. Be sure to get that out, take a look at that. As I said, it's on our website. You can access it there. If you're interested, download the whole PDF document. Be sure to pull your own strategic plan or other plan that you might be utilizing. Take a look at your community. You've already started on this process with your proposal. And just a reminder that LSTA is a user-based program. It's a community. What the community, your users, clients will need, and it's not just what the library wants or needs. So it needs to be framed in that method. Determining target group. Most of you, I think, are pretty well on your way with that from your proposal development. And then definitely the benefit to your target group. So this is one of my landing slides for questions. I haven't really had any questions up to this point. And maybe we have something potentially coming in. Thank you. Joan has asked about the DUNS number. This is a unique identifier of your library organization for if you are a public library. Usually your fiscal administrative office will already know this. Most every grant now that I can think of requires this as an identifier of your organization. If you're part of a larger, like a university or a larger organization, it may be something else, but usually every agency in the state here, the state library has its own DUNS number. Apart from the state, it has its own. So in the grant world, it's pretty much a required item these days. So if you have any trouble on that one, if you're not sure what you, and your fiscal folks or administrative office doesn't have it on file, feel free to contact me. We have lookup ways to identify the number, or by chance, although I'm pretty sure Henderson does, they have a DUNS number, but if by chance you don't already have one, I do have the information on how you can apply and receive the number for the application purpose. Okay, thank you. Let's continue on then. And here we go. Need or opportunity. This is where you get to show the reviewers what you know about your program and about the people that you are looking to serve. So in framing the need, we are having you get the foundation of your program. It's based on your users or patrons. This is what I've mentioned already. If at all possible, what has made some really strong programs in the past, and before that, even the applications were very strong, is if you are able to involve your user group in some of the development of your program or application. It may not be during the time that you are preparing the application. It may be after, once you know you're funded and you have a plan to involve them in the development or rollout of the program. I'll just mention it at this point. There was one application not too long ago that came in that happened to, did involve the special target group that they had identified. And in working with the group in the development of the application, they were able to identify some unique communication methods that worked with this particular group. Essentially, a huge amount of the group all listened to one major radio station. And it was a very critical aspect in the development of the outreach that they had planned for this particular project. So sometimes it can have a real critical aspect. Other times it will just, it can help in developing something that is really tightly connected with the target population that you have. The need does establish the library as the lead. Sometimes you are looking to explain why now. There's lots of times there's circumstances that have existed in the community, and now is the time to deal with it. And during the need and opportunity section, that's where you can make that information plain. And you support this by evidence, hard data, and soft data, and we'll talk a little bit more about those particular concepts as we're going forward. So, the types of questions that you might want to consider. These are the wonderful 5 W's that come up all over in all sorts of development of ideas. Each one of these might have something to connect to for your project, or maybe only one of them does. So, but in general, I want you to consider the questions, especially if you get stuck in an area. Go back to these 5 questions to see if that will help you in your need development or the development of this particular area. So who are the people? In your needs section, you will have an opportunity to talk about who the target group is. You do have the ability to further describe them in a separate section of the target population as well. So this is in the needs section. You will be able to put in the general information about that. And then, of course, the need, opportunity, problem that you're looking at. Why are you writing it? And why does this problem happen? May or may not have a purpose in developing. Other questions that may have some impact in developing the need and opportunity is where individuals are located. Sometimes there is a very specific geographic component to the project, to the target population you're reaching out to. Sometimes there's not. Also, a time frame, when do this problem occur, may not have an impact on your project development. However, if you're doing something after school, then you know the time frame is when school is out, Monday through Friday. That's the time frame as to when the issue comes up. So looking on, a little bit more about the who and what, just as a general reminder, the overall purpose of LSTA, apart from the longer priorities that exist at the federal level, apart from our 5-year plan, the overall purpose of LSTA is to help libraries meet the needs of their users. And that's just the users that from the federal level on down, everything is focused on users. So who will be most effective? Identifying the problem, involve the target group, as I mentioned. Great if you can do that. Not every program lends itself to that, but where it does connect, it is very powerful, especially in the application review. And remember, this is not based on the needs of the organization. Now, one of the things, there's a lot of things that we do need to operate, but LSTA is not generally designed to make an organization stronger. It's designed to reach out to their users. So if the need is a thing, where we're going, then you have to look at it again. So if you're proposing a program, in this case, a large country or county library needs a bookmobile, not a strong need. The better one is that you have residents in outlying areas, maybe can't travel in as much to a central library, and they have an identified need for job information, maybe healthcare information, homework support, one or more of these. Then you're getting towards the reason why a bookmobile would be the answer. So programs, the projects are supposed to be program-based, and that again is when you're looking at equipment. It is a weak application that comes in and said, we would like to have this piece of equipment. And mercy, there is a lot of cool equipment out there. I can't imagine everyone not wanting a 3D printer, but it's saying, oh, writing an application and I just want the printer won't score very well within the application process. So just because equipment is old, not necessarily a justification, or you don't have it, that's not a justification. Look at a program purpose for it. In the case of a 3D printer, you might be developing an outreach to tweens and teens of 3D design now type of program, and you have programs wrapped up with the teens and using design software and then having them have an output on a 3D printer. There you have a program, and it's not just, gee, we would like a 3D printer. Okay. Let's see there. There we go. Then you want to look that you are also able to have a measurable impact. If you have a program component, it's much easier to focus in on a measurable impact on your target population. And can you have something that looks to improve services at a library? Yeah, you can, but you're looking at how it will impact or benefit the users. So it's not that there aren't processes and things that can be improved and have an application submitted regarding those types of services. still keep with an eye on your target population or your users. And just to follow up on what I'm saying, definitely the second item there, take a look at just a little bit. The target is rarely a whole community or a whole state. There may be at some time a benefit, or there could be a benefit to a whole community or to a whole state, but you won't be able to actually impact, touch, or affect that whole community or statewide. So being realistic about how many participants you might have is what you will be developing as you get to know your target population and dig into it for your application development. And again, we kind of talked about the numbers served. So where are you going to find this information that will support this need? Some of it will come up in your need section. Some can also show up in your description of target population. Examples, demographics, one of those great things we can use for the hard data. Hard data is the more statistics-based numbers type of information that you're able to glean from different sources. And we have a lot of sources for a huge amount of information. Data mining, where you can find data, it's just off the charts of all the places where information is hiding. So we hope to give you a little insight on some places to look. So the examples, if you're looking to understand your target population, take a look if there's information, ethnic background, age, income. Are there employment issues or geographic location? We kind of talked about that before. This is where you start understanding the target population you've identified for your program. So, where's all that data? Amazingly, there is a lot of information that is available, since everyone has websites these days, that you can find on the local level. If you are writing from a county agency, county offices, just about every county, they have a requirement to keep up a strategic plan as well. The amount of information that they have packed into those plans is something that you should dive into and use whatever will apply to your program. Many times counties hire consultants to put these programs or these plans together. They have done a lot of the work for you. I was just looking at a couple of counties and their master plans, and the amount of information about the population is great. And don't reinvent the wheel. Take a look and see if there's information on at your county office. Local planning offices will often have additional information. Schools, the Department of Education definitely has it, but your local school will have a lot of information available, and it's usually at your district level. Surprisingly, realtors, they found, you'll find on their websites, the larger realty organizations especially, will have quite a bit of information about neighborhoods. If you're looking at a geographic or neighborhood-based type of program, don't hesitate to look at what they might have on their websites. Really a lot of information that they're putting up these days to try to attract buyers to certain or to any of the areas that they're serving with their real estate services. Newspapers definitely carry a lot of data. One of the local places that, this is Washoe County, they have a precinct viewer. Not every county has this, but has this actually has a lot of information about the precinct. If you need to know information as it relates to larger sections, as you zoom in on this, if you're zooming in on an area, you can find out actually quite a bit with regard to Washoe County and other counties that do have precinct information available on the web. So some other locations for that I mentioned. State, our state does have quite a few access points where you can find information that can support getting background on your target population or your locale. the State Data Center here at the State Library and Archives. Got to give them a little plug. That's a fast-packed area where you can get information related to not only the U.S. Census, from the state demographer. You can find information there as well. The Governor's Office of Economic Development, they've got some key things if you are looking for anything that falls in their bailiwick. They keep statistics on the economy, labor, real estate in general, utilities. Interesting if you're doing something to reach out to business people. People definitely like to know the cost of utilities in the area if they're going to be developing something. Also taxes, very important things if you're looking at an outreach to your business clients. The Nevada Workforce Informer comes from DETR, which is the Department of Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation. They have a lot of the latest things that are going on with regard to employment and unemployment statistics and things of that sort. So you find quite a bit of statistical information here as well. What about some other stuff? Not the only location, of course. We have federal government is great at keeping numbers. Bureau Census, definitely lots of things available there. You can go direct. There are links again to that information at the State Library's State Data Center. Bureau of Labor Statistics, IMLS, they keep statistics and collect annual statistics on public libraries. So if you're looking at something relating to public libraries, definitely something there. A lot of other sources of information. Kids Count, are you reaching out to 18 and under population, have information there. County health rankings, amazing little financial things that you find in the Nevada Association of Counties. Take a look at a couple of these. This is the website for Kids Count. You can see on the side there, I put in already Nevada from this screenshot. You can go by county, congressional district, by city, within the state, or you can go outside if you're looking for comparisons for whatever reason. And you can see the types of information. This is just the top of the screen. Scrolling through it, you can find quite a bit of other information regarding children. County health. How healthy is your county? How healthy is the state of Nevada? That's related to your topic. Nice little segment here. This is an interesting little place where you can, this is actually coded very tightly to certain geographic areas, and you can find out a lot of information about one particular location. And you can get, as you see at the bottom, you can get census information with fiscal data layered into it. Kind of a fun little site. So that's just an idea of a few of the places there. For every topic, just about, there is an organization that is collecting data and information about it. You could probably find several that are more specific to the issue that you're going to be addressing in your application. Now, soft data, I'd mentioned the hard data is definitely those things that are relating to hard statistical data, numbers that you can find. That's not to say that there isn't some very important information that can be put together or found that will support your project that come in the form of mostly, patron, client, person input, whether it comes from interviews, surveys, focus groups, community meetings, or forums. And these don't always have to be programs, meetings, forums, or focus groups that have been done by the library. There may be other community, other organizations that have done some of these surveys, some of this, have this information that you can utilize as well. Okay, I've come to another one of my question landing pages. I don't know if any questions have come up. I don't see any hands up at this point. Okay, let's plow ahead. So the intersection of needs and plans. That's some questions to consider. Definitely we'll be talking about your plans here. The 5-year plan and your local library mission and strategic plan. There may be a different plan if your organization is larger. You may have multiple plans to consider. That's just fine. Why do we ask for an intersection with your local plan? Part of that is to you're able to demonstrate that your local library has an interest in something and has an interest also to the point where they want to invest. This does identify how a local library, how an organization has an interest and an investment in the application topic that you are putting forward. It also can be an indicator as to if it's a successful project that the library, in as much as it's able, would like to carry the program on. So we are looking for, and the reviewers are looking for, an intersection of your plan, of your project with your library plan. Also take a look at who else is interested. It's fine to mention this as well. Are you connecting with another opportunity or program that is going on in your community? Is your county, do they have an initiative that they are looking to put forward? So you may have the opportunity of identifying an additional plan that this connects to. Again, can really be a great support for a program to show multiple partners being involved and having an interest in an initiative. Okay, so looking for whether your program will be able to make a difference in the time frame. LSTA, as it rolls out into the grants to the states, is strictly a 1-year, maybe 12 to 15-month program. Although we are funded in one federal fiscal year, we do have additional time because of the fun way the federal government doesn't quite get its budget done on time. We do have additional time in which to roll this out. But it truly is a short-term program, a 1-year program. So when you are developing the need and what ultimately the plan of action, consider that it is a 1-year program and how much can actually get done in that time frame. And our council members do take a look at that very carefully. So the types of planning documents, definitely you'll be citing your state plan. What do you have in your local library plan, what you can identify. Also, see the little red new is to identify a link, if not in the application. I will ask you to supply me with a link in the plan, but it's best in the application itself. So we do have that available. If it's something that is not available on the web, and we found that a few times, which is kind of why this came up, we do have to have access to it in one form or another, whether it's sent to us as an attachment or in an email or some other method. Okay. So collection development comes up, and this comes into plans is because if you are looking to request collection funds that are program or subject based, you do need to ultimately have a plan and link to your collection development plan for your library. So it's possible definitely to request materials as part of a program. Usually in the collection plan for the application itself, you would include a number of things such as what I have here for the size, the size of the project, an analysis, types of resources that will be purchased. If you are interested in doing a collection development, I will be glad to send you a handout. A couple I will be sending out because after the review I'm familiar with that. But if you are going to adjust some things and maybe do want to add some collection material to your project, be sure to contact me and I'll have that handout available for you. Okay, and definitely a collection development plan is where we were going with that. Other plans, I mentioned, well, you should have your strategic or master plan for your library or your organization. There can be other plans that you will need to or want to connect to. So if you're a school library, there are statewide information literacy standards. Sometimes those are items that can support where you are going with your project. Take a look at that. Those are at the Nevada Department of Education website. Any issues, if you can't locate that, be glad to point you there. Definitely on the radar screen, Common Core is something that might be a plan that you want to refer to as it relates to your library program. There may be other curricular standards. Common Core doesn't deal with every item that's in the curriculum, so there may be something else. In your school plan, you'll want to be looking at, if you don't have a specific one for your library, that the library is specifically mentioned and identifies the instructional role of the library in the school. And if you have a digital project, be sure to take a look at the statewide digital plan, identify and maybe, and not maybe, but do reference where your project fits within that larger plan, and that is also on the NSLA website. Any of these things that I mentioned, if you're having any trouble, I'd be glad to point you in the right direction when you're getting to that point. Okay, so as I promised, we're getting very close to the end. What we've done today is we've talked in general about the LSTA application and specifically about establishing a need, the target audience, some data sources where you can support your need and target audience information, the types of planning documents that you'll be looking at. Now, I do want to just mention at this point, one of the first things that you do see on the application page is an abstract. And on purpose, I talk about the abstract at a later time. I do recommend that you write your application, get that pretty solid, and then write your abstract at the end as a summary of everything you've done to that point. So that's why it was missing today. Now, I told you I'd definitely, if you would have any questions after the program today, anywhere along the grant writing time frame up until November 12th, I want you to be clear where you can contact me, email, telephone. Hopefully most of you have already gotten some kind of email from me, so you would have that in your email address book. Phone number should be there as well. I do expect to be available just about, pretty clearly for the next 6 weeks through our November 12th deadline. If I'm not available for any point, Karen Starr with the information there is also available to take some questions, maybe get things started before I'm able to be available to get back to your specific question. One of the things we do get to talk about later on is giving credit. LSTA, especially IMLS, has some specific guidelines on making sure that the program has its due attributions, and this is one of the ways that you can do it. So this workshop brought to you by LSTA Funds. And at this point, with a few minutes to 3 o'clock, I am pretty much wrapped up with today's content. I would be glad to stay online for any questions that you might want to pop in the chat box, or if you are on the teleconference number, I'd be glad to hang out here to address something that might have come up with this workshop material, or some other item that you might have, burning question that you might have available. So with that, I want to thank you all for participating through today, and I look forward to the next 2 Wednesdays where we go forward with the remaining parts of our LSTA workshop content. Thanks again, everyone.